And welcome to everybody. So this is what, number 7. I just looked. We have three more weeks of the unopened gift, and then it's dignity and leadership. So,
Boy.
yep. So it's coming. It's coming. That's what's next. Well, I want to ask you first. Well, let me show the official slides. So the official slides are that we are recording and we'll post this so other people will see it, just so everybody's aware. And that, yep, no transcription apps. And if you would love for you to share with the whole group rather than putting things in the chat. So if it's information, that's great, put it in the chat, but I love hearing everybody's voice. Everybody has something important to say. So here's the session recaps is that in the first one, we talked about what led to us writing this book. In the second, here's the foundation of a new interpretation. In the third, we reconsidered the traditional interpretation of key emotions. So we looked at 60 some odd emotions. And in 4, explored emotional clusters and why those are important. And then not quite emotions and what those are all about. And last week we talked about navigating emotions. So this week we're going to talk about emotions in daily life. And I think when we left last time, for those of you who were here, I posed a question that was something like this, which is in which aspects of your life emotions have the biggest presence and the biggest impact? So if you heard the question last time, if you've been reflecting on it, or if you can reflect on it in this moment, the reason this question for me and the reason this chapter, even though it's really short, is that one of the things that I see often is that people can understand the idea of emotions, the concept, the interpretation, clusters, they can understand all of that. But one of the biggest challenges for some people is linking all of those to what happens in their daily life. So I was just inviting you to take a look at, all right, so if you look around your life, where do you notice emotions? Where do they have the biggest impact? Where are they most important to you? And I'm not saying positive, I'm saying in any way. Like just what in your life, what role do emotions play and where do they play what you would consider a significant role? So whoever would like to share, like what occurs to you when you hear this question about how emotions show up in your daily life?
I'll be
Yeah,
happy.
Marcia, please.
Um, they have the biggest impact and typically it's interesting to me that a lot of the examples that came up were negative, or what I would perceive as or have it perceived previously as negative, but that they show up in the evening when the hours get late.
Uh,
They show up during transitions, and depending on the transition, the emotion is different. And then I notice they show up after prolonged hours of work. Like those are loud, emotional times for me.
yeah. Okay, great. Lovely. Thank you. So, can I say one word about negative emotions?
Please.
So, here's what I would say is if you notice, many of those emotions that are uncomfortable, or we call them negative sometimes, a lot of those have to do with self-preservation. A lot of those take care of dangers, or they take care of fears, or they take care of, things that
He
could
needs
be
to go
could
out,
be harmful to us.
but I can take
So,
him in.
so for me, I think that's helpful to frame them that way. Oh, I get it. The enjoyable ones, there's no danger. Like you feel joy, you're not going to die from joy, probably. But if there's a bear outside your cave, then probably fear and anxiety and apprehension are pretty helpful emotions. So when I think about them, I think, well, it makes a lot of sense that we would have those types of emotions show up more because they're all about self-preservation. And it's one of the reasons for me why they're so strong sometimes. Some of the other ones like modesty, I would call an emotion, but modesty, it's like nothing. I mean, there's no juice to it. It's a very calm, quiet emotion, whereas terror is not. And I think that there's a logic to it for me, which is, yeah, but those are the emotions that keep us safe. Yeah. Well, so who else? What connection do you make between all that we're doing in your daily life, Joe?
I had one very interesting observation while I was reflecting on the question that you have left us with. That in a in that very moment, we can experience different emotion based on who we are interacting with. So with my child, I can be ambitious. With someone else, at that moment, I can be frustrated. With someone else, I can be happy. So that was such an interesting observation that depending on who I am interacting, I can, in that very moment, can experience multiple emotions. So it is not sequence. Eh, I mean, that blew my mind. And then I started observing every time I'm interacting. I'm in office. I realized this person, I love talking to him. This person, oh my God. And then this. So that 1 minute. So that's one amazing observation that I had. Another one I had was, I really experienced it, that there is no time in a day when I am not in an emotion.
Mhm.
I mean, experiencing it was fabulous. So,
Yeah, lovely. So I don't know if this is your example, but if you were in a meeting with two other people, that same thing can happen, right? At the same time, I feel this emotion for this person, that person, in the same conversation. Yeah.
yeah, in the
So
same conversation, in that
yeah,
same
yeah,
very 1 minute.
yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing, aren't they? They're always there. They're always giving us information, whether we want it or not. And when we pay attention to them, wow, look at how omnipresent they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa,
I would say where emotions have the most impact for right now, and I don't know whether this is a good or bad, but basically in times of challenge. So whether that is with interpersonal challenges or inner challenges, that's when I notice emotions the most. I would like to get to the point where Joe is, where I just know emotions are there all the time, every moment of every day, and I am aware and acknowledging of them. I think I'm still at that phase where it has to take some sort of challenge, difficulty, some kind of impetus to really help me to see that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that that is actually where a lot of people are, to be honest. And so, and I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing as long as we're aware of it. But
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Yep, lovely. And you know what? I think as human beings, we have this capacity to notice or not notice, just like the temperature. Like we can notice the temperature around us, or we can not notice it. I mean, we have that capacity for choice around noticing and awareness. And I think that that applies for emotions too, because in fact, if you couldn't do that, your emotions would probably make you crazy, literally, because there's so many and there's so they come in floods. There's so much information that comes from our emotions. So I think that capacity to either notice them or not notice them is a real gift that we have because otherwise we either wouldn't get any information or there'd be so much we couldn't discern what was happening around us. So I love it. Yeah, thank you. Brenda,
Hello.
hello.
I can relate to everything that's been said so far. And what first came to mind for me though was the idea, if you've ever heard the phrase, we keep learning the same lesson in life over and over again until we've learned it. And so
Mhm.
we somehow get introduced to or put into situations that teach us the same lesson until we learn it. Um, and the for me, at least, goes for emotions, where the same emotions will continue to surface. until I've either acknowledged them, worked with them, like honored them in some kind of way, as opposed to bypassing them or sidestepping them. Like they will continue to surface.
Yeah, yep. So I always think that emotions have a job to do, and that's what they do. They come to do their job, and
And they're
if you
very
don't pay
good at their
attention,
job. They're
they're doing their
nagging.
job. And if you don't pay attention to them, they don't care.
They-
All right, they're just
Right.
going to keep coming back and keep coming back, and until you do pay attention to them, or you get really good at avoiding them and running away from them. But
But what you just said around the ability to I don't know what the word you use, but I'm going to use the word like pay attention to,
mhm,
like
yep,
discern. Like
yep,
that goes to I think people's capacity. Like how much capacity do you have to pay attention?
yep.
And that's different for everybody.
It is. That's
Yeah.
true.
I know I'm
Well,
just speaking. I know I'm speaking in obvious statements, but
hey, even obvious things need to get said, so we all hear them. So thank you. Teresa.
Oh, thank you. Um, I start to learn about emotions a few years ago with you, Dan, and I start to connect my body with the emotions. What kind of sensations, what kind of temperature, what kind of like this when I have some in my day by day, right? So I will consider that I am very, very connected with the emotions with my body, and it helps me to determine what is going on. And as you said, today in the morning, I was having a coffee with two friends. And when I am looking at one of them, it's the emotions are different, like the other one, that I don't have a lot of patience with this one because it's very talkative and blah, blah, blah. And so that's in my body, I sense that. And what I am learning right now is to go out from the situation and see how to react in order to
Mhm.
help myself to to put up an emotion that will help uh, in the relationship. That is what I am doing right now.
Yeah, lovely. Fabulous. Thank you. Lisa.
Yeah, everything that everyone's saying, but I don't know if I'm the only one here, but there's something about the naming of the emotion that I understand is important, and that's the most challenging to me. Like you know when you're feeling something, and you know when your body's doing stuff. It's kind of like okay, but to then what the it is. It's not always evident, and that's my biggest challenge
Yeah,
because it sounds like if you can name it, then you can work with it, and then so it's just very challenging for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Understood. So would you share with the group what you sent to me?
I knew you were going to say that, and I was just looking for it because the attachment didn't come up when I just did, but it was really powerful, and that's what was behind this
Mhm.
question. Um, but for some reason, when I go to the email I sent you, it doesn't have the attachment. So hold
Well, let's
on.
see.
Oh,
Let's see
yes,
if
it does.
let's see if
Yes, it
between
does.
us we can summarize.
Okay,
Let's
I
give them
got
an
it right here.
abridged version because Lisa sent me a post or a carousel of posts that, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting. Can you share or do you want
It
me
was it
to?
was from UCLA. It was a study that was done, and I'm trying to bring it up now, but it was basically the power of naming emotions. They did a study, and I'm trying to bring it up. Okay, a UCLA neuroscientist discovered that two words reduce emotional pain, that words activate relief pathways. Like there was all this neuroscientist done with naming emotions and what it does to your neural pathways and your whole system. Um, what happens in the brain when a person puts the feelings into words? And what he found changed how science understands emotional pain. Um, and talking about it doesn't make it always feel better. Um, so he wanted to know neurologically why, when people were able to name it, it made a difference. And they did scans of all these different emotions. And anyway, the results. 2 words. So it's just all you need is 2 words. Naming a feeling reduces emotional pain with the same effectiveness as a common painkiller reduces physical pain, not as a metaphor, as a measurable neuro mechanical event. And they talked about the amygdala and all the things. When you name the feeling, you activate the prefrontal cortex, and that directly reduces amygdala activity. The pain decreases not because the situation changed, but because of the brain shifted systems. That's why suppression makes emotional pain worse. When you push a feeling down without naming it, the amygdala stays activated. The prefrontal cortex is not engaged. The pain circulates without resolution, showing up as tension, headaches, or low-grade weight in the body. So most people describe their feelings rather than naming them, and that does not work. So not, I feel like nobody understands me, I feel lonely. Not, I feel like everything is falling apart, I feel frightened. Not, I feel that I'm failing at everything, it's ashamed. 1 word, sometimes 2, that's all that's needed. Um, and so that was really powerful. That's why journaling also works, because you can name it. Um, and you don't have to have the perfect word. The practice is simple. When you feel something difficult, stop and ask one question. What is this feeling called? Not what is happening, not why it's happening, not what should I do. Just what is the feeling called? In the most precise word, say it, write it in real time. 2 words maximum. And so that was very challenging because I do everything else. I don't know if most people do everything
Yeah,
else, but
yeah,
but that's the challenge. Yeah.
yep.
Every unprocessed feeling stays in the body. Yeah.
I loved it. She sent it to me, and maybe we can share it with you. But it's one of the things I've believed for a long time, that
Yeah.
when we name it, it changes somehow. It changes our relationship with it. When I can finally say, "Oh, I'm so frustrated," suddenly everything changes, or I'm so angry, or whatever the emotion is. And so when she sent it to me, I thought, oh yeah, this is exactly what I've been experiencing for years. And then he gave the reason. Well, because, all of the energy, the pain is in this part of the brain. When you name it, you move to a different part of the brain, and so it looks different, feels different. So I'm not neuroscience aficionado. I don't know that much about it. But I really appreciate that because it's so practical. It's like, oh, okay, so here's why emotional literacy has value. Because when we can learn the names and apply them,
I hope that's it.
and even with precision, that how helpful that is. So anyway, I loved it. So Lisa, love having you on the journey. And you know what? I have to say that I don't know that there's any shortcut besides practice. Yep, just do it. Note, write them down, and
But
don't
what
do
if
those
it's
other
not right? Like
and
what if
don't do
you
those other things. So, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
we'll have a conversation then. If you're not
Yeah.
sure it's right, let's talk.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Interesting.
Thank you very much. Yash.
Yeah, hi Dan. So
Hi.
one area in my life where I would say emotions have impacted me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
So one my life where emotions have impacted me, I would say is how I used to react and how I am responding now. I'm taking more time to analyze my emotions
Uh-huh.
because if someone has done something bad or has something said something bad. Now he is expecting a response, but I'm analyzing my emotion and I can take my time. And now I
Mm.
can basically react to that situation better as I used to do before. So I would say that area has really helped.
Love it. Wonderful. Thank you. Elaine.
The old-fashioned way. Um, I didn't realize until you asked this question that for me, a lot of times is when I journal or when I'm more present, then I notice or I focus on my emotions more
Mhm.
and jot them down. So, yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. Lovely. Well, I'll share mine since we're all being sincere and open here, which is I notice mine when I'm tired. When I get tired, then I notice my emotions, and they're usually not the really great emotions, not the ones I wish I had. Usually they're like frustration and annoyance. It's not so much anxiety or apprehension, but irritation, annoyance, frustration, that's when I really notice them. And one of the things I've learned pretty well, I don't always do it, but when I start feeling those, then my brain helps me. Then I think, oh, what's going on here is I must be tired. Even if I don't feel tired, I must be tired because that's when those emotions show up. And how that helps me is then I don't react to things. Then I try to rest and I give myself space because I know logically that if I don't do that, then my reaction won't be helpful. It won't be helpful to me. It won't be helpful to my relationships. It won't be helpful to the situation. So, one of the things that I would argue is that we can use our brains in so many ways to help us learn emotions and to help us regulate emotions. I mean, they're not separate, but we haven't quite seen it that way in the past. But I do believe that our brains are one of the greatest mechanisms that help us regulate our emotions. We just have to learn how to bring it into play. So here's a few things that I've been thinking. Some of this is not in the book, so I hope you're okay with me going off script here a little bit because short chapter, you probably read it. Here's what I believe. I think investing in emotional literacy is great, but it's only worthwhile to the degree it improves your day-to-day life. So I think just to become emotionally literate, to say I'm emotionally literate, is not very worthwhile. I think it has to be applied. It has to be something we use to improve life. And I don't just mean my life, I mean life as we live it. So I was thinking about, so what does it give us in all of these different domains? Again, from my perspective, I think in terms of you or in terms of me, one of the biggest things that emotions give me in daily life is self-regard, like my worthiness, and also self-care. And you could put self-compassion there, you could put other things there, but I think what emotions give me is the capacity to care for myself and to hold myself as having inherent worth and value. That for me is one of the most significant things that I get from emotions. In relationships, what I think it gives me and maybe us is quality, the quality of our relationships, but also the satisfaction that we get what we need from our relationships. So probably lots of other things too, but these are the two that occurred to me when I was making this. In terms of family, I think cohesion and support. I think I look around and I would say in my family, but even more in Lucy's family, culturally, Latina families or her family anyway, it's amazing when I see the support. How when somebody needs something, everybody's there to support them. There's not even a question. And that there's tremendous cohesion. And I think, again, because of some of the emotions that they've cultivated in their family. In community, I think it creates a vibrant community that's connected. Um, Many of you are practitioners. This for me is all about the practitioner group, vibrancy, connection, and that's all about emotions for me. I think in work, your contribution, how you feel about your contribution, the fulfillment you feel, that you feel like what you're doing is of value, that it's important, that it gives to others, it supports others. I think for me, absolutely fabulous that that is part of this. In your spiritual life, I think it gives you depth, but also sustenance. It sustains you. So when we were in Madrid this weekend, I was out wandering on Saturday. Lucy was in her class, and I wandered into a church. And lots of churches in Spain, lots of churches. And they're beautiful. You go in and wow, they're so amazing. And I happened to wander in during the middle of Mass. I didn't know that, but once I was in the door, I was in the door. And so I stayed. And it was what was interesting to me was I started getting curious, like I always do, about I wonder what emotion everybody's in here. And of course, some were in the emotion of faith, of course, but some were probably bored, and some were probably curious, and some were probably enlightened, and some were, there's a whole range of emotions in the congregation. But I thought, there's something about coming there, no matter what your emotion is, that sustains you, or it sustains the people who come there. I thought, oh, that's really, for me, something incredibly valuable with emotions. I think in terms of health, your wellness, your balance in life, that you have the capacity to rebound or to come back from, not feeling well. That generally that's what happens, not always, but many times. And just the sense of wellness and the emotions related to that. Your energy, the availability of your energy and the flow of your energy is related to different emotions. Your thoughts, right? Your awareness, your comprehension, that's all related to specific emotions. Your engagement, right? The relevance and the contribution you make, whether it's in society, with your family, with your work, etc. And lastly, you're learning that emotions are all about engagement and apprehension, to learn to take things in. So I looked at this and I'm like, wow, well, this is certainly worthwhile to invest a little time in, because look at all that it gives us. Look at all it gives us. It's, for me, incredible. So, any reflections? Anything you'd add to the list? Anything you'd take off the list? Any additions? Anything occur to you that just go, you know what? I can see how emotions help me in this way, in this part of my life.
Dan, one of the things that comes up for me on is your relationships. And so I do a lot of when I meet with my siblings, I find that a lot of the times I'm moving from the emotion of obligation, like I don't have a choice but to meet with them, and I don't really get the satisfaction that I'm looking for. Yeah. So being able to set that emotion down and maybe with the emotion of loyalty or maybe the emotion of acceptance, there is a way for me to be able to walk away feeling better, feeling the emotion of satisfaction more than if I went in with the emotion of loyalty. So I know for me on a daily life, just seeing a text from a sibling sparks a whole different level of emotions than something that sparks a client text or something like that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing to think about is it's not, for instance, the quality of your relationship could be poor quality, not just great quality. So, emotions contribute to poor quality relationships too. I think disrespect, right? There's one. I think uh, arrogance. I think, there's so many emotions that would affect the quality of the emotion, not necessarily make it better, but they certainly have an impact on the quality and the degree of satisfaction. Because, in some relationships with our family, there's a lot of satisfaction. Like we feel full when we get done with that conversation. And in some cases, we might feel empty. We might feel, dissatisfaction. So the level of satisfaction, I think, is all about the emotions that are generated, but also that we bring to the conversation. So, yep, absolutely. Yep. Teresa.
I like to add to your comment to Marcel that because we have historically been in some kind of emotions through our childhood to here to our adulthood, and we live in that system, and we create the emotions that we create, or we deal with the emotion that we deal at the time. The connection that we have with those emotions come back every time we receive an email from our siblings or our family, right? So it's when I am seeing this list that you done did, it's yeah, that's true. But for me, it's what kind of relationship you have with that. For example, with the church. When I go to the church, my emotions are differently for what you Dan maybe have because I am a Latina and I grew up in a very Catholic uh, emotion experience, right? So
Yep.
in this list, yeah, the connections that you create in their relationship with each of them, it's what is coming up, I would say,
Yeah. Lovely.
right?
Thank you. Joe?
So, so thank you, Marcel, for bringing it. I was also thinking about what about relationships which don't generate the quality and satisfaction. So I think each one of most of us have something like that. But then if I have to add two things here, I was just thinking emotions in daily life also is for our values. Value system, I think, has a lot to do with the emotions or the mood of the life that we have. And another one is needs.
Mm-hmm.
Your needs, maybe if I, so these are the two new things that came to my mind as I was listening to you. What do you think about these two? Do you think?
I think they're great. I think the idea for me is just to see how pervasive emotions are. They affect everything. They have an impact, we could say positively or negatively in all of these parts of our lives and around needs too. It's, if we feel shame, we don't ask for what we need. Or if we feel fear, we don't ask for what we need. So absolutely. And if we feel trust, we do ask for what we need. So yeah, absolutely. I think we could put your desires there too, because those may be different than your needs. So yeah, absolutely. You can make a longer list. I think again, the idea is if we just step back and look at our lives, every domain of our lives, there's nothing that happens in our daily lives that isn't somehow connected with emotions and the sustenance or the availability or the awareness or some aspect of it. So yeah, lovely. Thank you, Joe. Melissa.
What comes to mind as a possible addition to this list, or maybe it's something that's kind of with all of these things, but is perspective or worldview. I think
Mhm.
that, a person's perspective is definitely guided by their emotions, and then when I think about how perspective plays into like other facets of life with relationships, with family, with our own sense of self and our own development or growth or engagement or all of that kind of stuff. So that's why I say like, I don't know if it's an addition to the list. It's just maybe something else
Yeah.
that I thought about. Assumptions is something I've done a lot of thinking about lately too, and perspective definitely plays a role in assumptions. What I assume you meant when you said this, what I assume that I meant when I thought that, when the list goes on
Yeah.
and on.
All about emotions. Well, there is one I left off the list, not intentionally, but I've been really curious if there was a way to map emotions, specific emotions, to your political stance. So Chat GPT and I have been having a little conversation about that. And so far, don't have clarity, but there are trends. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I think we can. Yeah. And one of the things I was saying to Marcel, I was reflecting on, I said, why? We always hear the expression to control the narrative. You hear that all the time in politics and I was thinking, why? Why do we care about the narrative? And then I realized, well, because control the narrative, you control the emotions. And the emotions are what move us. And I thought, okay, I get it now. So it's not really control the narrative, it's control the emotions, or try to. Yeah. But, very interesting. That's all about us, daily life, our relationship with emotions, etc. So anyway, could go on and on and on. There's so many possibilities here. Lisa? Oh, you're on mute, Lisa.
Okay, how about now? Good.
Yep,
Um,
perfect.
just to bring it home, what you said about how it impacts politics or whatever, and I think there is an aspect of this whole conversation, which is unowned emotions don't they're not invisible. We project them all over the place. And
Mhm.
so there's something about like, well, if I don't name my emotions, it's my issue. But I think so much of what's happening in North America and around the world is the unownedness of people's own fear, shame, all
Yep,
that kind of stuff, that if people could speak and own or connect with, it would shift the whole cultural landscape
yep,
globally.
yep. So one of the principles that's I think it's in Dignity and Leadership, might be in both books, but certainly on our list of principles is that when you don't do your emotional work, somebody pays the price.
Oh, right.
And I love that. I love that principle because it's always true. It might not be
Yeah.
you, probably will be you, but might be other people too. So,
Usually.
yep, I love it. So again, this could go on and on, but a couple of things I want to share. So here's I often share these with groups. I often share these in classes, like in conferences. But the idea that there are specific emotions. It's not just being emotionally aware. No, specific emotions. And this is why emotional literacy for me is so valuable, is that certain emotions determine what we do, right? If we didn't have curiosity, we wouldn't ask a question. If we weren't bored, we wouldn't go look for something else to do or turn off the movie or close the book. If we didn't feel wonder, right, we wouldn't go out in nature. So what we do comes from the emotions that we're experiencing. How we do it. Do we do it with service? Do it with compassion, impatience, respect? So how we do everything absolutely stems from emotions. Why we do it? Well, we do it because we feel empathy, or we feel pity, or we feel respect, or we feel joy. Like, why do we make birthday cakes? Because we feel joy, right? Yeah. Why do we give money to people on the street? Because we feel pity. Yeah. Who we do it with, trust, loyalty, enjoyment, fulfillment. And these are all emotions that determine who we do things with. And finally, if we do it at all. right? Enthusiasm, a bigger cause, faith, because I believe. Complacency doesn't really need to be done because it's okay the way it is. Obligation, I have to, or I believe I don't have a choice. So for me, again, it doesn't matter where we're looking, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, who we do it, right? Any of these questions. And we could ask ourselves, well, why did we do that? Well, what's the emotion? Right? Why do I do it with this person or why do I avoid this person? Look at the emotions, right? If I'm not doing something I've said I'm going to do, or even that I want to do, what's the emotion? Because there's always emotions there, which are the determinants for what we do, how we do it, why we do it, who we do it with, and if we do it at all. And then there's another lens we can look through with emotions, which is this, which is they have different roles. So, for instance, some emotions draw us closer to other people, to nature, to an activity. And what are those? Well, things like affection, admiration, curiosity, adoration. That's the whole purpose of having those emotions is it draws us closer to people. And then there's emotions that distance us, right? So suspicion, hate, disgust, wariness, these all move us away from things. Maybe they're dangerous, or maybe we just don't feel comfortable with it. But they have us change the channel. They have us cross the street so we don't have to encounter somebody. They have us ignore somebody's phone call, right? That's what those emotions are designed to do. They give us a sense of strength, boldness, dignity, adventurousness. Wow. If I want to feel strong, if I want to feel big, those are great emotions for me to access. Expand our vision. So enthusiasm, wonder, intrigue, incredulity. Like, I just can't believe it. I can't believe that that happened. I can't believe that's how somebody in the world sees it. I mean, it expands how I see the world when I feel incredulous. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm looking to understand. Sometimes they narrow our vision, ambition, skepticism, urgency. What's the last one? Passion, right? They really have us focus on things intently. Some cause us to hide, right? When somebody's not showing themselves, what is it? Is it timidity, modesty, uncertainty, apprehension? There's an emotion there. Some are just to show ourselves. Pride, vanity, dignity, irreverence. I was watching a series with Lucy the other night, and the woman in it is so irreverent. She just makes fun of every single thing. And what she's doing? Well, she's showing herself, right? She's like, I don't care. People can see the real me. It's fine. Even if the real me is depressed and angry, and I'm still going to show myself. Irreverence. Some generate stillness. So serenity, peace, solemnity, solitude. For me, those are great places to go when we've been stimulated emotionally. And some generate activity, ambition, and excitement, and doubt and curiosity have us engage with something or try to do something or try to find out about something. So, my conclusion is this: every aspect of life is influenced by one or more emotions. And so, anything, all the who, what, where, when, how, or any of these that we're curious about, like, why did I do that? Or what is it that causes me to what emotions impact me too in these ways, but there's also lots more ways. This is just a beginning list because you could take any aspect of life, and I mean any aspect of life. Oh, why we have pets. There's emotions that determine why we have pets. Yeah. Why we shower every day. there are emotions that determine why we shower every day. Or don't shower every day. There are emotions that determine why we don't shower every day, etc., etc., etc. I mean, you could go on. There's no end to it, as far as I know. Yeah. So emotions in daily life, they're there. So that's next week. Emotions in the wide world. So now we're going to expand out next week. We're going to talk about the big world. But what I'd love to hear is, all right, so what are you taking from this conversation? How does this change the way you see emotions in your day-to-day life? Or it doesn't.
One thing that's coming up for me, Dan, on the just, when we talk with other people, when I talk with other people about emotions, um, so for example, over the weekend, I was with my older brother who's really smart, who went to Georgetown University, UT Law. These are big schools in the US. He's really smart. And we were talking about the book I'm writing with Dan and Elaine on dignity and education. And one thing I asked him was, do you think you learn emotionally first or intellectually second? And he immediately went to intellect, just like no question about it, because he made straight A's and he does really well in school. And so then that night I wrote, denial and arrogance can keep people from hearing. So it's just interesting for me when they don't even want to engage. It's like, no, it's just strictly intelligence.
Mhm.
Not even having how about just a little equanimity? How about just seeing it from my side and maybe not have any judgment? So as much as I want to go out and spread the message and normalize emotion, I also have to remember that I have the freedom of speech in the United States, but not the freedom to keep you to listen to what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I am reminded of how emotions maybe don't allow things to seep in, and I'm right there with them. I don't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just an awareness that I had this weekend on.
Yeah. Thank you. So Lisa, let me go to Marcia because she was getting ready to say
Oh, I'm
something.
done.
So Marcia and then Lisa.
Sorry, I can't find my hand emoji today. Um, the overwhelming feeling I'm having when we're having this conversation, I guess it would be empathy, but I'm feeling this big, beautiful world we have, and every single soul, every person walking the face of this earth is feeling all these emotions all the time. And so just that, like, so the value of emotional literacy, it's kind of like inch by inch, one drop at a time. I really do believe we can make a difference
Mm.
for the world by just individually doing our work, doing this work to become emotionally literate, and perhaps we'll inspire others or not, but it's just we're doing our part for peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. It's all we can do, show up.
Yep.
So we show up and do it the best we can, and the rest is not up to us.
Right.
But I think it's great. If that fuels you, then that's perfect.
Yeah.
Lisa?
Oh, well, I was just going to say there was something I think in the other thing that you guys are on that I was in. Marcel something and I said something, I'm probably going to butcher it. But something about behavior is emotions without language.
Mm.
And I have been that has been occupying me since he said that, because it shifts everything when like even how you would interact with your brother, or, that like, we don't all have words for it, but yet we're speaking it all the time in how we
Mhm.
behave. So that just brought something home to me. So
Yeah.
that's all.
Lovely. So what is it? It's from a one pager on that we are creating a flyer, but oh no, it was on a LinkedIn post. What is it, Marcel?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's the bottom line is it's a lot of times it's the behaviors, and we want to give everybody a language, but behind that behavior is an emotion, and there's rarely ever a language to be able to describe behavior, yes, but the emotion that sits behind it. So it's a big one in education because you do behavior and they say don't do that again, but you don't really know the emotion behind it. So you push it down. And then, as Lisa said, amygdala goes up, and then we call that masking. And then, anyway, but yeah, it's a big one. It's a big
Yeah.
one.
Oh, wow. So, what's your emotion now? What emotion are you leaving in?
Gratitude.
I'm sorry,
Gratitude.
who spoke? Oh, Marcia. Right.
Gratitude. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you.
I'm leaving with the emotion of certainty because if you looked at everybody on this Zoom call, and if you ever wondered what normalizing emotions looks like, it's this. I mean, Yasmin is sitting over in India. Elaine's up in Wisconsin. Lisa's over in British Columbia. We got different, Yash is there's different countries everywhere on this call. And we're all like this. Yeah, I got emotions. Want to talk about it? Yeah, let's put a language behind it. That sounds great. And everybody on this call is sitting there going, you know what, I think we're on to something. I think we can be helpful. And so I do see this as a perfect example of what normalizing emotions looks like.
Mhm.
I do. It's just it gives me certainty. Yeah.
Jen's leaving with fascination and hope. Thank you, Jen. Happy you were here. Happy you are here. So, what's your emotion? What are you leaving with? Jennifer Jackson.
Mine is I don't know if I'm feeling reflective, I guess, and contemplative. That's what's coming up for me a lot as I sit with today's conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Lovely. Yasmin.
I'm living with awe because, so far, probably I was just observing my negative emotions. But now I see there are so many layers. So I'm actually in awe.
Lovely. Thank you. Teresa.
I am living with amazed because I said how beautiful and miracle we as human beings are.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Very much. Marie, how about you?
I was just I feel content. I feel contentment and appreciation. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. And Yash.
Then I would say I'm just grateful. So yeah, I'm grateful to be part of this journey and I'm learning new things. So yeah, gratefulness.
Lovely. And Elaine.
Gratitude and curiosity.
And Melissa.
I would say inner contentment, satisfaction with how I see emotions in my own life, but then ambition when I think about the work to be done with emotions in our world.
Lovely. And I think the last one, Joe. No, did I miss someone else? Joe?
So, in Hinduism, it says that the highest form of learning is when you surrender. So I had the feeling of surrender. There's so much to learn from what Lisa shared, what Marcel shared, Melissa. Amazing. So surrender.
Yeah. Did I miss anybody? No? We good? Well, I'm leaving in with a sense of satisfaction and delight. And I will share one thing. So there were times over the last 10 years after we wrote this book where I thought about throwing in the towel because it would just seem too hard. Just seemed too hard to get people to understand something that was so obvious. I just couldn't, it was an incredulity. I couldn't believe, like, how can people not see this? It's just not that hard to see. It's in your life. It's in every part of your life. It's in everything that happens around you. So I guess I feel contentment. I feel gratitude that I didn't, and gratitude for you that you're here, and lots of other people who have shown up in the last, particularly in the last few years. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And don't forget, next week we're going to talk about emotions in the wide world, which is which chapter? Chapter 8. Okay. So love it. Thank you so much. It's been a delight, and can't wait to next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye bye.